Hello, and welcome back to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm Laurie, Lynnsee, and I am so grateful you are here. This month, we are exploring the theme of the coherent heart, the beautiful intersection of science, spirituality, and our own lived experience. Before we begin, if you are new here, welcome. I help women in the second half of their life reconnect with themselves so they can trust their intuition, regulate their nervous systems, and live from their inner wisdom instead of fear, people-pleasing, and self-doubt. Through science, spirituality, meditation, and compassionate mentorship, my mission is to help women remember that the wisdom they have been searching for, they have been carrying within them all along. If that speaks to your heart, you're in the right place. Our first episode this month, we explored whether the heart knows before the brain. And last week, we looked at the difference between fear, intuition, and why nervous system regulation is so important if we want to hear our own inner wisdom. Today, I'd like to ask a slightly different question. Are we more connected than we realize? Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt tension before anyone said a word? Or perhaps you've sat beside someone whose calm presence helped make you feel more comfortable and slowed your breathing. Maybe you've smiled simply because someone smiled at you. Or maybe you felt sadness in a loved one before they even told you that something was wrong. What are we experiencing in those moments? Is it psychological, neuroscience, body language, empathy, spiritual connection? Or perhaps it's a little bit of all of them. Let's explore what science currently knows and what many people experience, and where mystery still invites us to keep learning. So let's start with the heart and the science of the heart. Let's begin with something that's measurable. Science loves measuring things. For many years, scientists believed that the brain was the primary conductor of the human experience. But over the last few decades, researchers have learned something fascinating. The heart produces the strongest rhythmic electromagnetic field generated by the human body. One of the researchers who helped bring attention to this work is our old friend, Dr. Roland McCready, and he's the director of the HeartMath Institute. Math is in adding and subtraction. Using sensitive scientific instruments called magnometers, researchers have measured the magnetic field generated by the heart extending beyond the physical body. I'm going to say that again. They are actually measuring a field that goes beyond the human body. And this isn't spiritual. This isn't woo-woo. This is measurable science. Researchers have also found that when people intentionally cultivate appreciation, compassion, gratitude, and emotional regulation, the heart begins producing more coherent rhythms. Yes, our heart reacts to compassion and gratitude and appreciation. Did you know that? These coherent rhythms are associated with improved communication between the heart and brain, greater emotional regulation, clearer thinking, and increased resilience. Here's what science can measure: that our heart generates measurable electrical and magnetic activity. Our emotional state influences the rhythms of the heart, and coherent psychological states appear to support healthier functionings throughout the body. Already, that's pretty remarkable. We're only getting started. So let's talk about emotional contagion. This isn't the contagion of like the coronavirus. This has to do with our emotions. So let's expand our view a bit. Have you ever noticed that emotions seem to spread? One person laughs and suddenly everyone is laughing. Someone walks into a room and they are anxious, and within minutes the entire room is feeling unsettled. Well, researchers like Dr. Elaine Hatfield, Dr. John Capizio, and Dr. Richard Rapson spent years studying something called emotional contagion. Their research suggests that human beings naturally and often unconsciously synchronize with one another. We subtly mirror facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, breathing, emotional states, and most of the time we don't even realize this is happening. So think about it when you're in an argument with somebody. They're raising your voice, you're raising your voice. That is an emotional contagion happening. Science tells us that we are remarkable social beings with nervous systems continually gathering information from the people around us. Another fascinating discovery comes from Italian neuroscience, Dr. Rossetio, and his research on mirror neurons. Mirror neurons help explain why we often feel connected to another person's experience. When we watch somebody smile, certain areas of our brain become active. When we witness someone in pain, our brain often responds as though we understand, at least in part, to what they are experiencing. These discoveries help explain empathy. They help explain learning. They help explain connection. And they remind us that we were never designed to experience life completely alone. So one of the more interesting things I discovered this month was this concept of resonance. If you've ever watched a room full of metronomes placed on the same surface, something amazing starts to happen. At first, you can have them all clicking at different speeds, but over time, they gradually begin moving together. They synchronize. And you know what? Musicians have experienced this. Choirs experience this. Dance companies experience this. Nature is filled with examples of living systems finding rhythm together. Perhaps human beings aren't so different. Maybe our nervous systems, our emotions, or even our hearts are constantly influencing one another in ways that we are only beginning to understand. So let's talk about an aura, or as science calls it, an electromagnetic field. This is where science and spirituality meet. Many spiritual traditions have spoken for thousands of years about an aura, an energetic field surrounding the human body. We even hear people say, "I can see your aura," or "your aura has a blue color to it." People claim to take pictures of auras and be able to see it on film. So many traditions have spoken for thousands of years about auras, or an electric field surrounding the human body. Science, however, does not measure an aura in the same way that spiritual traditions describe it. Those are different concepts. What science does measure are the electrical and magnetic fields generated by the heart and the brain. These measurable fields are not proof of an aura, and I think it's important that we don't confuse the two. But I also find it fascinating that both perspectives suggest something similar. Human beings influence one another in ways that go way beyond the spoken language. And I don't believe that we have to choose between science and spirituality. I believe both can be invited to the same conversation. So I want to share a story that I shared earlier this week on my True North Tuesday Live. Years ago, while I was still teaching, I'm now a retired educator, I spent the entire day with this overwhelming feeling that something was happening with my mother. Nothing had happened that I knew about, no one had called, and there was no logical reason for this feeling. But it stayed with me all day. And when I got home and the phone rang, it was my mother, and she had devastating medical news to share. To this day, I can't fully explain that experience, and honestly, I don't feel the need to explain it. Often people will say, "Well, how do you know? What is your proof?" I don't need proof. It's in my gut. And if you've experienced this, you know the same thing. You might not have the words to go with it, but you know it. Some experiences invite explanation, and others invite wonder. So what science still does not know. One of the things I appreciate most about science is its humility. Good science doesn't pretend to know everything. I think Many people in our culture believe that science is fact. Science is not fact. Science is the best knowledge that we have at the time, and we're going to continue to grow that knowledge base. So good science doesn't pretend to know everything. It continues to ask better questions. There is still so much we do not understand. Why do some people sense something is wrong before receiving a phone call? Why do relationships sometimes seem to carry an unspoken awareness of one another? How much of what we experience comes from subtle observation? How much comes from physiology? And how much remains unexplained? I don't know. And I think it's perfectly okay to use those words. I don't know. Curiosity always has been the birthplace of discovery. So here's what I do know. I know that every interaction leaves an imprint. Our nervous systems affect one another. Our perception matters, whether that's through facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, our physiology, or perhaps something we don't fully understand yet. The way we show up in a world influences the people around us. When we regulate ourselves, we often help others feel safer. When we cultivate appreciation, we often encourage gratitude in others. When we become calmer, our family, our friends, our coworkers, and the community often benefit. Because that's the invitation, not to become obsessed about proving every mystery, but to become people whose presence creates peace. So with every episode, I like to share the researchers that I presented in the episode. And we're going to start off with our old friend, Dr. Roland McCravey. And he is the director of the HeartMath Institute. His work is in heart coherence, heart rate variability, and the heart's electromagnetic field. And then we have Dr. Elaine Hadfield. She's with the University of Hawaii, and her work is in emotional contagion, interpersonal emotions, and social connection. We also have Dr. John Capriccio, and he's with the University of Chicago, and his research is involved with social neuroscience, emotional processing, and human connection. Then we have Richard Rapson, Dr. Richard Rapson, emotional contagion, social relationships, and interpersonal emotions. And then we have Dr. Rosiliati, which I'm having a hard time saying because I'm not Italian. And he's from the University of Parma. And his work is with neurons, empathy, and learning through observation. All of these researchers are doing different areas of research, but they're all having one shared question. How do humans bring influence to one another? So as we move through this week, I'd like to leave you with one question. How does your presence affect the people around you? When you enter a room, do people experience more calm, more kindness, more curiosity, more hope? Perhaps the greatest gift we can offer isn't having all the answers. Perhaps it's becoming someone whose regulated nervous system helps others remember what safety feels like. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Inner Compass podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to invite you to continue the journey with me. You can learn about my private mentorship programs, Compass Sessions, Meditation Monday, the Inner Compass podcast, my online courses, and the Inner Compass Sound Lounge, which I'm so excited is going to be available in August. You can explore all of these on my website at www.laurielynnsee.com. And if you're looking for a place to begin, I invite you to schedule a complimentary discovery session. I'd love to hear your story and explore whether we're a good fit to work together. And if these podcasts have encouraged you, inspired you, or helped you connect with yourself, and you'd like to support the show, you can do so by visiting www.buymeacoffee.com/Laurie Lynnsee. Your support helps make it possible for me to continue creating these free conversations each week. And I truly appreciate every act of encouragement. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share it with somebody, like it, do all the things. And if you share it with someone, give it to someone who might need to hear this message today. Every share helps this community to grow. And until next time, keep following your inner compass. Awaken, remember, rise.